Welcome to the 2023 February DAC training, Test Security. My name is Shara Savage. I'm a programming consultant in the Office of Assessment and Accountability. Today, we will cover Test Security and Caveon Core. First, let's look at Test Security. In order to maintain the integrity of assessments, test security guidelines have been developed to be used by District Assessment Coordinators, DACs, Building Assessment Coordinators, BACs, test administrators, and anyone involved with the administration of the state assessments. Following these guidelines will ensure that no student has access to any form of assistance or materials that could provide an unfair advantage. The primary goal of test security is to protect the integrity of the assessments and to ensure that the results are accurate and meaningful. Test security is everyone's responsibilities, from KDE down to the students taking the assessments. Make sure that all information about testing is making it to the people administering the test. Ultimately, the teachers and the proctors are the ones who generally will have the allegations against them if something goes wrong. Don't put anyone in the situation to have to file an allegation because they didn't know what or how they were supposed to handle something. Have a set procedure in place for counting and checking in and out the test materials. Vendor analysis of results help narrow down issues. Engage proctors means that the proctor is actively monitoring and moving to be sure students are following directions in the appropriate section of the test booklet and in student response booklets or the online test section, and keeping only allowable items on the testing stations. The administration code is required for everyone involved in administering any state assessment, online or paper. The training can be delivered in several formats, in paper or using the district's online learning system. KDE also offers these trainings as well. The administration code trainings can be located on the KDE website. Anyone involved in state assessment must receive the administration code training annually. For those providing or assisting with accommodations, they must receive the administration code and the inclusions of special populations training. Many districts do require both trainings to be completed by all administrators and parties involved with state assessments. This is a local decision that may be enforced without the consent of KDE. It is important to know when students' accommodations have changed close to testing. Caution shall be used prior to making education plan changes related to accommodations near or within the state required assessment window. Changes may occur based on the time an annual meeting is to occur. It is important that any changes made is supported through the data and evidence. In addition, ensure that students' accommodations have been locked down after any changes. The inclusions of special populations can be located on the KDE website. In monitoring and conducting observations, KDE has observed that areas that can be problematic for field staff. Scripts need to be read in their entirety. If a student receives a scribe, the student shouldn't be writing unless the student chooses to do so. It is also important to ensure that training is complete by everyone involved in any state assessment. Testing staff needs to actively monitor students during the entirety of the exam and to ensure that students do not have access to personal electronic devices or the internet. Personal electronic devices can be smartwatches, cell phones, and even earbuds. So please active monitor during the entirety of the exam to ensure that students have not hidden away these electronic devices and pull them out during testing. Here are some important steps to think about. Training all staff involved. Additional staff to actively monitor students while testing. Maintain test security of all secure materials from the time they are received until they are shipped back to the vendor. You need technology staff for troubleshooting if testing online. Printing student testing tickets prior to the test day and keeping them secure. Seating charts are required for all state assessments, and as a reminder, it is vitally important to know the assessments being given, as vendor policy differs from KDE. For example, ACT requires seating charts to be filled out on their form. However, KDE does not require an additional seating chart. The ACT seating chart is acceptable to KDE. Just keep a copy on file. The observations by KDE will be in person, but could also be a virtual visit. Secure test materials will vary slightly by assessment, but let's look at our most prevalent test, KSA, to better understand what secure materials are. For online testing, you will see test tickets and seal codes created from the PAN system for TestNav, which is used by students to test. Once these items are printed, you must keep them secure until they are distributed on test day. After the test ticket and seal codes have been used, they will be returned to the back to be securely destroyed. Scratch paper is available to students in both the online and paper testing formats. Scratch paper is considered a secure material since test questions or answers could be gleaned from these papers. The move to online testing has allowed students to print the test ticket on a single page so that the student may use the rest of the page as scratch paper. Important to note, please train and learn your specific test assessment. For example, ACT does not allow scratch paper on paper testing. Secure materials are items that includes test content, tests themselves, or scratch paper, or provides access to test content, seal codes, test tickets, etc. Whether testing online or with paper, test security is of the utmost importance. Therefore, it is important to point out that all online testing refers to in-person testing with trained staff. At this time, KDE and the Administration Code regulation does not permit remote proctoring for any state assessment. Now let's take a look at the online reporting platform for allegations. As much as we try to have the perfect test administration, test irregularities can occur. Sometimes the irregularity will rise to an allegation. Determination if the test irregularity is an allegation should be made by the DAC. Many times the DAC and the BAC work in unison to determine if a test irregularity is an allegation. However, sometimes allegations can come from other testing staff. DAC is the authority when submitting the allegation into the Caveon core. So allegations are investigated by KDE. The investigation requires documentation of the incident to be submitted and can include additional school visits and interviews for those involved, students and staff. As a reminder, the tool for allegations is now online with Caveon Core. As the DAC, please ensure that an account ID has been created. The links to the Caveon Core account and Caveon directions can be found on the KDE website on the Assessment Support Allegation Reporting page. Now let's look at some essential Caveon reminders. Important that all relevant documents are uploaded with the allegation report should be collected in advance. However, if this cannot occur, a report can be temporarily saved as a draft. Please keep in mind that the report in draft status is not officially a report, Therefore, it will not be processed. Once all of the necessary documentation has been collected, please remember to return to the report to upload and save it to submit. Before filing, record the date and time of the incident. List all involved: staff, volunteers, students. Identify content area and test parts impacted. Identify specific content questions, if applicable. Record what you learn. Report the incident. Collect the supporting documents for all allegations in advance of filing. Collect the supportive documents for allegations regarding special education issues before filing, if applicable. Complete the Caveon, KDE Caveon Core Incident Reporting Form application. Connect to KDE Caveon Core Allegations Reporting. Only authorized individuals can access the secure application. And remember, you can save it as a draft and return to it later to finish filing. After you submit the incident report and all required documentation, KDE will begin an investigation. At that time, you will no longer be able to view the incident report in Caveon Core. KDE will contact you if any additional information or documentation is needed. If you have questions about whether the report was submitted successfully, please get in touch with Beth Bales in the Office of Legal Services. Please do not resubmit an incident report, as that will create unnecessary duplicates. If you have additional questions or need additional information, please contact Beth Bales in the Office of Legal Services. And here are the links to some of the resources that we have discussed today. Since the live Q&A sessions will not include full presentations of the content already covered in the video recordings, DACs and BACs should be prepared for the Q&A sessions. Before attending the Q&A sessions, DACs and BACs can prepare by watching all or pertinent training videos on the administration of the Spring 2023 assessments. On this slide are the dates and locations of the Q&A sessions. In Frankfurt on the 15th, this will be an in-person only Q&A session. On February 21st will be in Ashland, and that will be a hybrid meeting. February 23rd will be in Eddyville, and this will also be a hybrid Q&A session. The February DAC Q&A sessions will follow the same topics and timeframes at each location. The agenda and the times on the slide will be followed. However, once an agenda item has no additional questions, staff will move on to the next topic. Participants planning to attend should plan for the entire meeting. And this concludes the training on test security. And on their slide is our contact information. You can reach us by phone at 502-564-4394 or by email at dacinfo@education.ky.gov. And thank you for your time and attendance here today.